We're talking Clemson Tigers today on Sharpen the Point. 2024, it was a 10-4 season. It was a hard-fought loss to Texas in that playoff game. It was to be expected as they were overmatched along the lines of scrimmage, but a better showing than many had thought they would put forward in that game. Head coach Dabo Swinney returns for his 17th season. He's got a new defensive coordinator to play with. Tom Allen, it comes over from Penn State. He's one of the top DCs in the country, and it was a coup to bring him in. He should maximize the talent on the roster, which is refreshing compared to what they had a year ago. Quarterback-wise, Cade Klubnik enters his third year as a full-time starter, and more importantly, year 3 in this Riley system, off of the back of a breakout year where he made giant leaps across the board. Last season, Klubnik threw for over 3,600 yards and 36 touchdowns, while adding over 450 yards rushing and another 7 touchdowns, showcasing what we believe is some sneaky dual threat capability that nobody knew he had before this. He's become a star who will be firmly in the Heisman Trophy conversation for me, with his ability to make big-time throws and top-tier decision-making being amplified by his comfort in this system. Christopher Vizina, he's going to again be the primary backup. He's highly thought of within the program, getting reps during garbage time, so that he will be ready when time comes in 2026. Running back-wise, Phil Maffa, one bad Maffa, he was one of my favorite players heading into last season. He didn't disappoint. He got off to a really hot start, and he was a staple in my daily fantasy lineups until a shoulder issue really hampered him down the stretch, and it ultimately gave them a lack of a run game and forced more production onto Klubnik. I really do wonder how far they could have gone had he stayed healthy for the entire season. As 6 of his first 9 games last year, he had over 100 yards rushing, with all 8 of his touchdowns coming in those first 9 games. Over the last 5 games, including the playoffs, he failed to top 66 yards and he had no touchdowns during that span, showing just how banged up he was. He still managed over 1,100 yards on the ground, and he's going to be tough to replace as a true bell cow back. Now, ultimately, with that workhorse back off to the NFL, I think we continue to see a committee here. To start the season, especially given the lack of experience in the backfield. I think Jay Haynes is probably the most talented right now, but he needs to be healthy given he's coming off of a really late season injury. And he's got promising freshmen Gideon Davidson and David Ezumum mixing in as well. I think they're all going to get touches early. I expect Davidson's role to ultimately increase throughout the season if he can continue to impress. He is an explosive athlete who has a grown man's body coming in, and many of his teammates are really comparing him to Travis Etienne, which makes sense given he's wearing that number 9 jersey. Former wide receiver Adam Randall, he's going to be a full-time running back this year after mixing in by necessity late last season. He's going to be a constant receiving threat out of the backfield given his wide receiver nature. He'll be a weapon there. While ultimately this running back room does lack a lot of experience, there's still plenty of talent available for them. Someone is ultimately going to emerge from this pack and be the next star here. I think Davidson is the likely answer. Pass catching wise, heading into last season, this was a unit with the most question marks for me, but throughout the year, the young guys continued to improve and show that there are stars for Klubnik to throw to. The trio of Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, and TJ Moore is arguably the best unit in all of college football from top to bottom. Jeremiah Smith, still best wide receiver in the country, and that room is good. Williams is the elder statesman and leader of the room, operating out of the slot as the security blanket for Klubnik. He really broke out last season with over 900 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's good at all levels of the field and makes explosive plays happen once the ball is in his hands, either through the seam or on slants and short area. TJ Moore, he had a solid freshman season with 650 yards and 5 touchdowns as a big target on the outside. He was consistently involved throughout the year, but really never had that explosive game until that playoff game against Texas with a 9-catch, 116-yard, and 1 touchdown line. He tends to win more with his route running, and he should build off of that playoff performance to increase his numbers this year. I really like him on the comebacks and those short area 10-yard ins and outs, breaking routes. He really operates well in that mid-level situation. Bryant Wesco is the other freshman, and he really built throughout the season. He showed more explosive flashes early in the year, catching a couple 100-yard games, but he showed a ton of consistency late in the season with over 60 yards in 3 straight games before really breaking out in a big way in that ACC title game. Thank you very much. You lined my pockets that week against SMU with 8 catches, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He can win at all levels and fits the profile of a number of highly successful Clemson receivers we have seen in the past. Wesco is my favorite of the 3 and somebody I can see being a dominant force for this year and years to come. It is truly a 1A, 1B, 1C situation, which almost no other team has, as any one of these guys can really take over a game and dominate it. Tyler Brown, he was the leading receiver in 2023 as a freshman before being banged up last year. He's going to return more as a rotational piece. He kind of got Wally pipped here. They also added Tristan Smith from Southeast Missouri State. He's a big target at 6'5" and was highly productive there with nearly 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns last season. He lit it up during the spring with catching multiple touchdowns, and he gives them a different presence on the outside with that huge size. The one missing piece of the pass group from last year is going to be tight end Jake Brenningstool. He was not an every week contributor, but rather somebody that they relied upon in the red zone. Klubnik missed him plenty wide open in the red zone, and he would pop up for a big performance here and there. Olsen Pat Henry's going to assume that starting spot. He played well in his limited opportunities with 9 catches and 3 touchdowns on 11 targets. Very efficient. He also did a nice job blocking, which will keep him on the field. I do not expect him to contribute with the volume that Brenningstool did, as more targets will funnel to the big 3 wide receivers. But Pat Henry will catch plenty of touchdowns, as he will be the forgotten man by many defenses in that red zone. Offensive line-wise, 4 of the 5 starters returned from a unit that was not the reason for the success of this offense last season, but they weren't a detriment to it either. Left tackle Tristan Lee, center Ryan Linthicum, right guard Walker Parks, and right tackle Blake Miller are entrenched as experienced starters in a cohesive unit that will look to build upon last year. And then keeping Miller and Lee from bolting to the NFL were massive for them in being able to spend up and keep those guys. They're going to break in that new left guard spot from their depth with Harris Sewell and Colin Sadler, the leading candidates. I expect the line to be improved as a whole with so much returning production, with the chance that it could be the best unit they've had in a while. Defensive line-wise, that line was absolutely star-studded, and they can match up with anybody in the country. They do lose Peyton Page up the middle, but the return of TJ Parker and Peter Woods, along with the addition of Will Helt from Purdue, gives this unit high-end production across the board. Parker was an absolute terror for opposing teams last year with 12 sacks while playing well against the run. He's a freak athlete that every team will struggle to block, opening up one-on-one opportunities for everybody else across this line. Woods is a former 5-star recruit who's a disruptive force up the middle, specifically against the run. His penetration is unmatched. He was banged up for much of last season and projects as a first-round pick who needs to produce like it on the field, though. He did cut weight in the offseason, and it should really help him with his get-off here. DeMonte Capehart, he's going to partner with Woods as an older, experienced player. Much like Woods, he couldn't stay healthy either last season, and those guys are going to be extremely important to be on the field. Helt, he had 6 sacks last season on a Purdue defense that struggled, but he's a long piece. He's 6'6", I believe, and that he can really get off the edge and produce some pressure here. Linebacker-wise, Barrett Carter departs for the NFL, but that's not really a concern with Wayne Woodaz. He's returning to patrol the middle of the field. Woodaz is a leader on the defense and a sure tackler. He's not going to have to worry about anything, with shedding blockers with the quality of the line in front of him. Sammy Brown, he's going to see his playing time increase with Carter now gone. The former 5-star recruit was highly productive as a freshman with 5 sacks and 80 tackles. He's going to be a breakout player in the future of the second level here, creating havoc all over the field. Can't wait to see what he looks like in a full-time role. Jeremiah Alexander from Alabama and Jamal Anderson, they're going to be the top backups rotating in for that pair there. Defensive back-wise, last year it was a young, inexperienced group that played well together. Now on the outside of, you have outside of safety R.J. Mickens, who went pro. It's a young, experienced group that's returning. The room's extremely deep with top-tier talent. Cornerback Avion Terrell is one of the top corners in the conference. He's going to pair with 6'2", lengthy Ashton Hampton, and he's no slouch in his own right. Hampton was under-recruited coming out of high school, but he's a breakout candidate this year as someone who will be targeted more due to how respected Terrell is on the other side. Jaden Lucas, he's another large corner and former 5-star. He's going to be rotating into that mix. And then Kylan Griffin and Ricardo Jones, they're going to man the safety spots with Khalil Barnes at nickel. Barnes played a large number of snaps last season, but still has plenty of room to improve in that role. 2025 schedule and outlook. The offense is absolutely loaded with talent. Klubnik is one of, if not the top returning quarterback in the country. And his trio of weapons at wide receiver is only going to improve off of last season. The line and running backs will trail behind that setting of the pass game, but not because they're bad. The line is experienced, and they're again going to have solid backs. Certainly somebody's going to step up and assume the mantle that Maffa left behind. Getting Tom Allen to come here to coach these guys was just an absolute steal of a deal for them. Now you have one of the best DCs in the country coaching a talented front seven who can mask any deficiencies on the back end. They have impact players, and they're going to need to perform up to expectations to be a top 30 defense here. And that's where they need to be in order to get where they want to go. Schedule-wise, they open with the big-time game of the week, LSU. What an opener. Man, Brian Kelly has yet to win an opener at LSU, so I see no reason to believe he starts that here with this experienced group coming back. I will lean win. I would pick Clemson to win that game. Looking at Troy next, that's an easy win at Georgia Tech. Tough conference opener. I think Georgia Tech's going to be very good, but that's still a win. Syracuse, win. At North Carolina, win. Boston College, at Boston College, win. SMU, I think that's a win. I don't think they have the weapons on the outside to be able to handle this team. Duke, good team, but win. Florida State, win. At Louisville. So Friday night at Louisville sets up for a trap game here. I'm going to lean win due to having lost to them last year, so they'll want to get to avenge that loss. But I could easily see them dropping this game. Furman, win. And then at South Carolina, that's another fun one, right? It was a great game. One of the best games of the year last year was that South Carolina-Clemson game. Lenora Sellers really put the team on his back there. I think that can happen again, but South Carolina definitely lost a lot more than Clemson did. I will lean win there as well. The schedule is not easy with two good SEC teams in the non-con and facing every good team in the conference except for Miami. 10 wins should be the floor with a realistic shot at an undefeated season. I would project an undefeated season. A first-round exit and anything less than 11-1 with this schedule would be a disappointment given all they have coming back. They should win the ACC, have Klubnik in New York for the Heisman ceremony, and make a strong push for a national championship.